Hello, and welcome to the latest episode of the Advice Guru podcast. Well, today, my partner in crime, Stuart, joins me, and we're going to be talking today about lender support growth. Hi, Stu, how are you?
I'm good, Stuart. Yourself?
Very well indeed, thank you. Yeah, looking forward to this one, actually. I know um, over the last couple of weeks, we've launched details of the Guru growth model that
Mm.
we created for all advisors out there. And last week's was a very interesting conversation we had about lead growth, which has had some amazing feedback.
Yeah, that's a big part of our growth model, isn't it? And obviously one that attracts the attention of a lot of advisors. It's the probably the first question we get asked. How can you help me generate more leads, nurture more leads, turn more leads into new business? So it's a big part of our proposition, but it's just one of the five spokes of that wheel, if you like, that we're covering over the next few podcasts, isn't it? So I'm excited to talk about the next one today, which is all about our focus on lender growth and lenders growth support. And it's an idea that has sort of come out of the ether of several months ago, wasn't it? And it has grown into something that it is we're really quite proud of.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I recall I'd left an AIR event and there were lots of lenders there, and there were lots of advisors there, and it just felt like there were some new advisors there, which is lovely to see at an event. And it just felt to me, talking to a couple of people, that there wasn't one place where advisors could go to find out which lenders would provide them with which support.
Mm.
And we sort of brainstormed it. I was on the A38, which is Orrible Road, and we were talking it through. Do you remember that conversation?
I do, and it's close to my heart because many of the people listening will know that I used to work for Key Group and looked after brands like Mortalife and Standard Life Home Finance and Key Partnerships and Air. And between those four brands, we created a whole range of tools and support for advisors. So some of those things I'm really super proud of, and they still exist today. Some of those were my ideas, some of those were my colleagues' ideas, but we brought them to life. Um, and I suppose one of the frustrations of doing things like that is you can spend a lot of time and sometimes a reasonable chunk of money on creating this support. And then you'll go to an event like the AIR event or the Equity Release Council event, and you'll start talking to people, and you realize they don't know about this stuff that exists. Some people do, but the vast majority have no idea that Mortalife's got a tool that does this, or Pure's got a tool that does that, or Aviva's got this fantastic calculator, and they just don't know. And I think to the point you just made is unless you know where to look,
Yeah.
very hard to keep track of all of that great support out there. And I think one of the things that from that sort of that germ of an idea that you had on the A38 and the conversation we had is I think even you and I, who are very close to this, were surprised at just how much free support is out there. It's incredible, isn't it?
Absolutely. And I'm just looking at, what you created from the research that I did, and we can send advisors the link to this. We're actually launching it with our Advice Guru Platinum directory members first, because they get everything we do first. But on the portal that you've created and the grid, you've actually put our unique provider grid sponsored by Pure Retirement. And we'll come back to Pure Retirement actually, because I've
Mm.
got some good things to say about them. Details of all the tools, calculators, marketing toolkits, and other support items that lenders have created for advisors. If you're looking for help and support in developing your later life lending advice business, come here.
Mm.
So that's who it's for and that's what it is. But I love the look of it now, from the germ of the idea to something that's very interactive and very useful for advisors.
Yeah, I was really keen that we didn't have or we didn't simply just have a grid that showed people what support was available. We linked them directly to that support because, again, sometimes with some lender websites, you've got to know where to look. And certainly, I was surprised. One of the eye openers for me was just how well hidden some of this stuff is. Fair
Yeah.
play to lenders for creating this stuff, but they some of them could be a little bit better at showcasing their great support. But I want to send a big shout out actually to all of the lenders, and our grid at the moment is focused on the main uh later life lenders. We are looking to expand it out, and we'll probably come on to talk about that a bit later on, but it's the main later life lenders we're focused on.
Yeah.
But a big shout out to them, because when you look at that grid and you see all of the support available, what you probably don't appreciate is just how much time and money and
Yeah.
effort has gone into creating all of that support, all of which is designed to help advisors with their marketing, help them with spotting and landing new leads, helping them with their training, helping them with their compliance, helping them even with their getting qualifications. So there's an enormous free toolkit out there. And I think that's to the credit of all of the lenders that have spent the time and the money on developing those tools. And I think what we've tried to do in our grid is just make it as easy as possible for advisors to find those tools, because they're not always easy to find.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think the lenders, actually, I'm going to be a little bit controversial here. I think the lenders were brilliant at giving us the information we needed for our grid so that we could make it as good as it can be.
Mm,
Um, but we needed some sponsorship. First of all, it's taken us a long time to do this,
yeah.
and we've paid for various resources. It was bloody tough trying to get anyone to put their hands in their pockets to support this financially.
Hmm.
Some didn't even bother coming back to us as the requests. They were very quick in coming forward with the information, but very slow in coming forward with the, yeah, we'll support this financially as well to enable
Hmm.
you to grow it to a bigger market. So yeah, first of all, that's tough. That was tough. And I think part of that is the market as it is. Lenders are struggling to spend any money on new initiatives. But I do think to get out of the malaise that the market is in, lenders need to club together with companies like ours to grow this market. Because what is this grid looking to do? It's looking to grow more business for them by enabling advisors to understand what is available for them out there to promote their businesses to clients, to get more clients doing business. So, yeah, I just felt that it was a little bit short sighted on some of those lenders. Or am I being too harsh, Jake?
No, I think you're right, and I think, I said, a big shout out to the lenders that have created this content. But I think there's a couple of points to pick up on there. It was, as you say, it was disappointing and hard work, and much harder work than we thought to get some of the lenders engaged. Some were very engaging, Pure in particular. Um, but the other thing that struck me, if you look at that grid now, what the real plus point is that there are, I think, 65, or certainly around about 65 to 70 individual support items, calculators, toolkits, training modules, guides, that kind of thing. That's an enormous, entirely free library of support available to advisors in this market to help you with your marketing, your promotion, your compliance, and all the rest of it. That is great. But there are some noticeable gaps as well. There are lots of gaps in things like help with qualifications, and we know we need more qualified advisors in this market. There's gaps in terms of training for topics like vulnerability and care, and we know how crucially important it is that advisors are fully versed with those topics. And I suppose for me, if I'm going to, my own controversial angle on this to add to your controversial angle, is that a lot of lenders talk the talk about how important it is for advisors to get better qualified, to get better trained, to to understand the requirements of consumer duty, to focus on customer outcomes, to think about vulnerability. Where's the support for that? there's a big gap. I think our grid has done two things. It's highlighted all the great support there is, but it's also highlighting the gaps. And I think it's important and incumbent upon the industry to fix that. Accepting the point you made, Stuart, and I think it's important for all the lenders out there gnashing their teeth right now, saying, "Yeah, but we don't have enough. We don't have the money that we used to have. The market's not as big." Yeah, I understand that. This stuff is expensive. I know. I was the marketing director, B2B marketing director. I know how much we spent on these tools, on these toolkits. They're not cheap. But if you are going to sit in front of advisors at big events like AIR events and Equity Release Council events and say, come on, advisors, you need to get better trained, you need to get better qualified, you need to focus on this. Advisors need help. They need help. And this is where I think our grid will do two things. It will showcase the things that are there and hopefully be a little pinprick in the conscience of the lenders to say, look, there are some gaps here. Can't we fill some of these gaps? Because advisors are crying out for this support, aren't they?
I love that. Yeah, that's cool. We are being controversial today, but that's a good thing. They're fair challenges, they're good challenges, and they're only challenges to grow the market. So I think that's fair. I'm gonna, as we're on a podcast and we're audio only, it's quite difficult for people to be able to visualize the grid.
Yeah.
So the grid is literally the 12 lenders in later life, all listed down the left-hand side. And then we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 columns across the top, just with different categories, whether that lender provides that category or not. And the categories are video support, exam support, whether they've got a mortgage calculator, if they provide their lending criteria, if they provide business building tips and support for advisor firms, if they have a literature and poster ordering service for advisors, if they do vulnerability training, if they have medical underwriting on their website as part of their offer, and if they've got care training as part of their offer on their website. And each individual lender is listed, and then we have a tick or a cross for each category, and the tick leads to the hyperlink. So as an example, I'm looking at Aviva alphabetically first. Do they have a mortgage calculator on their site that advisors can use? Yes, they have. Click on the hyperlink that we've got on our grid, and that takes you directly to it. Actually, mortgage calculator is probably a bad example because everyone's got one. But if you wanted to get hold of the Canada Life BDMs, as an example, you click on the icon just below the Canada Life icon, and that tells you all of their BDMs. So it's really useful and interactive in one chart. So did that work well, Stu? Has that visualized it in your mind?
I think, yeah, you've summed that up really well. And I think, again, one of the things that I think is important as we go forward with once we make this grid live, and it does link back to my previous point. So I'm going to stay on this slightly controversial take, but you rightly pointed out there that there are lots of mortgage calculators. Similarly, there's pretty much, I think, a tick in every box for lending criteria because all the lenders, as you would expect, have lending criteria support. However, there's lending criteria support and then there's lending criteria support. As a couple of examples, I think Mortlife and Pure offer some of the best lending criteria tools available on the market. They are really detailed and you can get right into, does this product offer on thatched roofs and septic tanks and proximity to commercial, all that kind of thing. Other lenders, it's kind of basic and you've got to pick your way through it. And they're just PDFs, they're not tools. So we are going to encourage not only our members, but also advisors that use this tool to rate those tools so that we can champion and promote and sing from the rooftops the tools and the calculators and the support that really do add value to an advisor's business, and maybe just not criticize, but just highlight and point out that sometimes these tools are not as good or not as useful as they could be. So I think that's another aspect of our grid. Actually, it's not just a it's not just a gateway to these tools. We want to use it to help build more and better tools in the future.
Love that. Yeah, that's really cool. Just to back up something you said earlier, vulnerability training. So we know that all
Mm.
12 lenders have a mortgage calculator. All 12 lenders have lending criteria that you can tune into and have a look at. Vulnerability training on their website. Out of the 12 lenders, how many do you think have got vulnerability training?
It's not many, is it? It's just a few, two or three, maybe something like that.
And we get to five. So
Fine.
five, or look at it a different way, seven have no form of vulnerability training on their website.
Mm.
And if you think about just how high a priority that is in the later life lending market, my question is, why isn't that 12 out of 12?
Well, I think that's a fair question, and I think whether it's vulnerability, also care, I would say. And I think the other shortfall is on the qualification support. I think it's just Aviva, isn't it, that offer that?
Yeah, Aviva, the only one who
The
offer.
only one. And
Yeah,
I know, and again, I'm going to play slightly devil's advocate here. I know that from a lender's perspective, things like support for qualifications is time intensive, it's money intensive. And being purely kind of parochial about it, if you're looking at it from a CFO's perspective, from a budget controller's perspective, they're going to say, well, what return on our money do we get for all that spend? And I get that, I get it. But Aviva are doing it. Aviva are recognizing that it's important we get qualified advisors. And to the point you made, vulnerability and care training, I would say that every lender should be offering some kind of support there for advice. It's so critical, isn't it? It's so crucial to our market. So it's disappointing, to put it mildly, that isn't a 12 out of 12 and it's only a 5 out of 12.
but exam support doesn't need to be that. You don't need to put that much on. Speak to the what are the London Institute called nowadays, the IFS. Speak to them, and is there something you can do with them, and put the link on your website. I know Aviva, banging the drum for Aviva, that they're doing some great stuff with LIBF at the moment to subsidise exams for advisors. So there's certainly things that the other lenders could do.
Yeah.
One thing that I really want to say is just how impressed I've been with Melanie Godley and Scott Berman from Pure,
Yes.
the amount of support they've given this. I actually had feedback last week that Melanie was at an event talking about this grid and the support that Advice Guru can give advisors. And they've agreed to sponsor the grid. And that's amazing support, just what we need, really.
It is. It's great support. They've been very enthusiastic about it. I've been very impressed with their engagement. But also, when you look at Pure's support, they do have an impressive array. They've got a fantastic lending criteria tools I mentioned. They've got an amazing marketing toolkit, and it's something that is again, it's one of those things. It's a sort of hidden gem. I think a lot of advisors won't recognize just how much you can get from Pure's toolkit. If you've got no idea where to start with your marketing, something like Pure's marketing toolkit is a great starting point, just to get you going, get you into first gear. It's not going to solve all of your marketing requirements, but it's good
And
first gear.
is the £250 they give to advisors to create literature and
Yes.
banners, is that the best kept secret in the
Probably
equity?
the best kept secret. I think if anything, if you and that's again going back to what we said earlier about the reason we created this grid. Unless you know where to look, you don't know what's out there, and most advisors will not know that within that huge grid that we've now got of all of the supports available, there's free money there. There's free marketing support from a great lender like Pure that are putting their money where their mouth. You said earlier about lenders talking the talk, not walking the walk. This is a good example of where Pure are doing both.
Yeah.
They're putting together, they're recognizing there's a gap, there's a need for this support, but they're also saying we know that advisors struggle with, just paying for this stuff. And so they're offering up some money to help advisors do that. It's probably not something that, they could do for every advisor in the market. So it's probably a, use it or lose it, first come, first serve kind of thing. But
Oh, you're
um,
backtracking quickly now, Stu.
yeah, yeah.
That's
Well, it's again,
good.
lenders don't have bottomless pits of money, despite what
Sure.
people think. It's tough times out there. We know that for everyone. But it's a great piece of support. It's a great way of a lender like Pure showing that they are there for advisors, there to support growth in the market. And I think it's a crying shame that the vast majority of advisors in this market, particularly those new to the market, won't know about it. And our grid is aiming to try and solve that riddle, is it? Solve that problem.
Yeah, absolutely. So I guess my last question then is, the lifetime mortgage market isn't about equity release, isn't about just equity release. So why have we created an equity release grid for the later life lending market?
It's a good question, and I think it plays to our strengths. We know where these hidden gems are. We wanted to bring it to life for advisors, and there are lots of advisors struggling in the later life lending market. But we don't want to leave it there, do we? So we know that there are a whole raft of RIO providers, for example, out there that we want to include in there. We know there are a whole range of building societies and residential mortgage lenders out there that lend into the later life lending space that will also have toolkits and calculators. In fact, I'm really excited to find out just what they are,
Yeah,
because even some of the content we've got in this grid, and I've been in this market 10 years, right? And you've been in it a similar amount of time. Some of the stuff on that grid, I didn't know existed.
we did not know about that. Yeah,
Didn't know.
yeah.
So, what else is out there? What other amazing toolkits and calculators and guides and support is available for people operating in the true later life lending market, the resi space, the Rio space, the lifetime mortgage space? It's probably immense, and that's where we want to go next, isn't it?
And I feel another project coming on. So yeah, on that note, I think we better stop talking and start some action ourselves. So
Yes.
Stu, thank you very much for joining me to talk about lender support growth and how Advice Guru is bringing real things to the market to help advisors.
Pleasure.